On the day of my wedding, there were two brides at the wedding venue. Ethan's first love, wearing a sexy wedding dress, was weeping and wailing towards me. "Sister Alice, I know you don't like me, but today is the most important day for me. Why did you deliberately come to disrupt it?" I looked bewildered and turned to my boyfriend Ethan. However, he protectively put his first love behind him with a pained look on his face and then coldly rebuked me. "Today is my wedding with Diana. Why did you come here wearing a wedding dress to join in the fun?" He personally tore my wedding dress to shreds and mercilessly drove me out of the auditorium. Taking advantage of the guests' inattention, he looked embarrassed and said to me, "Alice, Diana has been suffering from depression all along. Marrying me is her last wish. Anyway, since you love me so much, just satisfy her with this little thing." I still stared at him blankly, as if looking at a stranger. Ethan got impatient and was just about to force me to leave when a hand suddenly appeared and grasped him tightly. A deep and pleasant voice rang out from behind. "Who dares to touch my wife?" Hearing Lucas's familiar voice, I turned my head in surprise. "Husband." I threw myself at the person who came and hugged him. Lucas's body stiffened for a moment, and then he quickly and affectionately stroked my head and said with a smile, "Sorry, my wife is a bit of a scatterbrain. She went to the wrong place. Our wedding is next door." Ethan, dressed in a suit and groom's attire, was stunned when he saw this scene. He quickly came to his senses and his expression changed. He rushed over and grabbed my arm. "Alice, have you no shame? Who are you calling husband?" No matter how hard he pulled me, I was like a sticky plaster, clinging tightly to Lucas. Ethan's face turned pale and he was extremely angry. "Alice, stop making trouble, okay? Open your eyes and see clearly. The man in front of you is your sworn enemy, Lucas. I'm your husband." I rolled my eyes at him while lying on Lucas's shoulder. "Don't try to fool me. You just drove me out. There's already a bride inside. You're not my husband." Ethan's face turned black and then white alternately. He sneered, "I get it, Alice. You're just jealous because I protected Diana just now, right?" He looked at Lucas with a contemptuous expression. "This man is all dressed up. I guess you hired him as an extra with money, Alice. I've already told you that Diana and I are just childhood friends with pure friendship. Why are you so idle that you're always jealous for no reason?" If it had been in the past and I heard him scold me like this, I might have already had my eyes turn red. But now I just looked at him blankly and strangely. "Lucas, who is this greasy and overconfident man? Why does he keep talking to me? I don't even know him." Ethan was completely flustered when he heard this. "Alice, stop pretending. It's only been a few days since we last met. What new trick are you playing? And you're even pretending not to know me now." Before his slap could land on my face, Lucas coldly pushed him hard. Ethan, a man, was almost pushed to the ground. He was just about to fight back, but before he could get up, Lucas kicked him again. "I advise you to show some respect. Alice isn't your girlfriend anymore. She's my wife now." Before his slap could land on my face, Lucas coldly pushed him hard. Ethan, a man, was almost pushed to the ground. Coincidentally, she saw Ethan with a bruised and swollen face from being punched. Lucas gently held me in his arms and snorted coldly, "Ethan, you're greedy and unfaithful. I'm really ashamed that you're also a man." Diana screamed and ran over to help the man up. "You're robbers. Today is our wedding. Why are you causing trouble here?" Diana was crying with her eyes red. She really looked pitiful. Unfortunately, Lucas was so dazzling that once he appeared, all the guests' attention was attracted to him. "Who is this man? He's so handsome. He's even better looking than the groom." While everyone was talking and speculating, Lucas withdrew his gaze and gently held my hand. "Alice, everyone is still waiting for our wedding. Come back with me." Then he turned to look at the guests in front of him. "Sorry, my wife just went to the wrong venue and disturbed everyone. Our wedding is in the hotel next door. If you're interested, you're welcome to come and attend our wedding." Seeing that I had been holding my skirt with my hand all the time, Lucas immediately understood and picked me up by the waist. My wedding dress had just been torn by Ethan. Alice, can you hold on? I shook my head pitifully. Without saying a word, Lucas took out his phone and called his assistant. Bring the alternative wedding dress here. Right now. In less than 10 minutes, the assistant arrived with several people and brought another more luxurious wedding dress. Oh my God. Am I seeing this right? Isn't this the latest luxurious wedding dress named Picking the Stars that just came out a few days ago? Yes. It seems that this girl really went to the wrong place. Just now the bride even said that she was a mistress. Her husband is much richer than the groom. The whispers among the surrounding guests grew louder and louder. Hearing these words, Ethan's face immediately darkened and he stared fixedly in my direction. Even Diana's face turned deathly pale, with a touch of jealousy and hatred at the corners of her eyes. I'm not sure whether Ethan's wedding continued or not, but having successfully disrupted their wedding made me feel much better. I had been in a relationship with Ethan for 6 years, and everyone thought we were a match made in heaven. It was expected that we would smoothly step into the marriage hall when the time came. During these 6 years, he doted on me a lot. As a president worth tens of millions, he was always afraid that I would get caught in the rain every time it rained and would come to bring me an umbrella in person. At an auction, when I took a fancy to a teacup, he made a bold move to show his love for me by lighting the sky lantern, a way of bidding aggressively. Everyone said that Ethan loved me deeply. Until 2 months ago, his first love Diana came to seek refuge with him. Ethan began to stay out all night time and time again. Whenever I asked him about it, he would look impatient and say, Alice, can you stop being so unreasonable? Diana came to this city all by herself, with no relatives around and was so pitiful. Her water pipe at home was broken. What's wrong with me giving her a helping hand? He pushed me down in order to rush to Diana's side. Even when my forehead was bleeding from the knock, he didn't look back at me. Perhaps at that time, I should have given up on him. Alice? Concentrate. Lucas's gentle voice pulled me back to reality and he squeezed my hand. We'll be going on stage soon. We're finally getting married. Are you happy? I turned my head to look at Lucas in front of me. He seemed particularly nervous with fine beads of sweat oozing from his palms. Under his affectionate gaze, I quickly smiled and said, happy. Ethan was right. Lucas was indeed my sworn enemy. He was my senior in college. From school to society, he had always been my competitor. In the business field, we fought fiercely over clients. Everyone in the Ethan group knew that Lucas and I had nothing to do with each other. But it just so happened that when I lost my memory, he found me. That time, Ethan was supposed to take me boating on the lake, but he received Diana's distress call halfway and his face changed immediately. When he turned around and stopped the car, he coldly left me on the overpass. Diana had a car accident. I have to rush back to check on her. You can take a taxi to go boating by yourself. But at that time, I had a terrible headache. I chased after him and begged him, anyway, you're going back. Can you give me a ride to the hospital? I have a terrible headache. However, a hint of sarcasm flashed in Ethan's eyes. Stop pretending. Aren't you just trying to stop me from going to see Diana? I've already told you that she doesn't pose any threat to your position at all. Why do you always have to be so fussy? I was so aggrieved that my eyes turned red and I wanted to defend myself. The sarcasm in his tone was undisguised and hit me like knives again. You just have a headache. It's your occupational disease. Take a taxi to the hospital and have it checked by yourself. He thought I was having the same migraine as before, but he didn't notice that the look in my eyes as I looked at him gradually became confused. I was about to lose my memory soon. Half a month ago, I was diagnosed by the doctor with neurological amnesia, which was a sequela caused by that knock on the head. I wandered on the overpass for a long time and almost got into a car accident. It wasn't until Lucas drove by on his way back from a business trip. He had a sharp tongue and originally wanted to get out of the car and mock me. But when he saw my confused eyes looking at him, hey, handsome guy. You're really good looking. Lucas thought I was possessed. When I was almost in a car accident, he frowned and carried me back to his car, Alice, are you out of your mind? Then when he touched my forehead, he found that I had a high fever and took me to the hospital. The doctor who treated me told him, she has a rare form of amnesia and probably has forgotten all the previous things. After the doctor left, Lucas stared at me and thought for a long time. Finally, he tentatively stared at me and asked, Alice, who am I? I shook my head in confusion. Suddenly, Lucas smiled. He held my hand and his eyes became affectionate. He said word by word, I'm your husband. I froze all over. I thought this guy was taking the opportunity to tease and take revenge on me. However, to my surprise, in the following several days, he really treated me like his girlfriend. He fed me, coaxed me to sleep, and held on to me all day long and wouldn't let go. He also took advantage of the time when Ethan wasn't at home, secretly took my ID card, and coaxed me into going to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get married. It was only then that I realized. It turned out that Lucas had already fallen deeply in love with me for a long time. Please have the bride and groom exchange rings. The MC's voice rang out on the stage. Lucas took my hand and walked onto the stage, then bent down gently and put the ring on my finger. I still felt as if I were in a dream. Alice, from now on, I'll be your husband. I'll love you, protect you, and won't let anyone bully you. I stared at Lucas earnestly, having never seen such a tender side of him before. In the past, when he was competing with me for clients, he never showed any mercy at all. I nodded in a daze, and then a thunderous round of applause broke out among the guests. At this moment, Lucas lifted my veil with a light smile and kissed me. I felt as if I had been electrified all over, my whole body tingling. My face blushed. Why hadn't I noticed before that Lucas was quite handsome? Alice. Just then, an extremely angry shout came from the audience. Do you know what you're doing? Ethan happened to witness the scene of me and Lucas kissing. His face turned pale with anger and he rushed in as if he had lost his mind. Aren't you ashamed enough? Come back with me. Lucas's expression changed slightly. He took a step forward and shielded me behind him. Mr. Ethan, please behave yourself. I hid behind the man's shoulder, with a slight smile on my lips, watching Ethan going crazy and losing his composure. I thought he wouldn't come. I thought he would finish this wedding with Diana. Unexpectedly, he still came. Behave myself? Screw that. Lucas, I've endured you for a long time. Don't think that just because you and Alice are putting on this act, she'll fall for you. I warn you, she's my girlfriend. We've been in love for 6 years. No one can take her away from me. As soon as he finished speaking, the guests around looked at each other in astonishment and started talking among themselves. What? Is this man crazy? He's even wearing a groom's suit himself, yet he comes here to snatch the bride from President Ethan and claims that he's the bride's boyfriend. Is this some new type of business warfare? Exactly. I saw it when I came here earlier. He was having his wedding next door. Look, his bride has chased after him in such a sorry state. I followed their gazes. At the entrance of the auditorium, there was indeed Diana, with a deathly pale face, holding the hem of her wedding dress. The hem of her white wedding dress was covered in mud, probably because she had accidentally tripped and fallen when she chased out just now. At this moment, she looked so aggrieved that she was on the verge of crying. Ethan, let's go back, okay? Didn't you promise to give me this wedding? Why did you come here to make a scene? As she spoke, she glared at me resentfully. Lucas didn't panic at all. He gave a cold laugh. Mr. Ethan, your bride has chased after you. Today is our big day. Don't spoil the fun. However, Ethan turned a deaf ear. His eyes swept over me jealously. He was as jealous as a mad dog. Stop acting. Alice is my girlfriend. We had an agreement that the first time she wore a wedding dress would be for me to see. I'm telling you to stop acting. Alice, I admit defeat, okay? I'll listen to you. I won't marry Diana anymore. I stared at his embarrassed expression with a cold smile. Even now, he still thought that Lucas and the guests were extras I hired. He thought it was all just for the sake of competing for his affection and preventing him from giving Diana a wedding. Before I could say anything, Lucas retorted on my behalf. Ethan, no wonder you're such a failure. You can't even win a woman's heart. If it were Alice, she wouldn't be jealous over such trifles. You've wasted 6 years with her and yet you don't understand her at all. If you keep making a fuss, I'll ask the bodyguards to escort you out. Ethan went crazy on the spot. He smashed the wine glasses on the banquet table and even started driving the guests away. All you extras, get out of here. I've already said that this act should stop. Alice has achieved her goal. The bodyguards caught him on the spot. Ethan completely lost his image as a president and ran over to pull me again. Alice, come away from here with me. I won't marry Diana anymore. You know how much I love you. Why do you have to hurt me like this? But I loathed and refused his touch. I just held Lucas's hand tightly and said, he's my husband. I don't know you. Ethan was completely stunned. He was almost on the verge of collapse. Alice, what on earth do you want? I've already compromised with you. I just wanted to fulfill Diana's little wish. Why are you making such a big fuss? Seeing this, Diana ran over pitifully and knelt down to beg me. Sister Alice, this is really my last wish. She stretched out her arm and showed me the scratches on it that were almost healed. Ethan didn't lie to you. I have depression. I always feel that life is meaningless. Ethan is the only light in my life. He just wanted to give me a wedding and bring some hope to my life. I pretended to lose my grip on the wine glass and splashed the wine all over her. You? She glared at me angrily, but I interrupted her with a smile. No problem. I wish you a long and happy life together and many children soon. I raised my hand and called the bodyguards, show them out. When Ethan and Diana were dragged out in a sorry state, there was only coldness left in my eyes. Although the scene had been disrupted by Ethan, the MC was quite emotionally intelligent. He said, peace all year round, and soon restored the harmonious atmosphere of the wedding. After getting married, I moved to live in Lucas's villa. I didn't take anything with me at first and wanted to go back to my previous place to pack my luggage. But Lucas stopped me. Don't bother. Out with the old, in with the new. Husband will take you to buy new clothes. He took me to the shopping mall. He bought all the daily necessities that I lacked. The clothes were all custom made by private designers, each set worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands. The quality of life suddenly improved by several levels. Ethan has come to see me several times in the past 2 weeks. For the last time, Lucas told him, don't come here again. Alice doesn't want to see you, and besides, she doesn't remember you anymore. Ethan looked incredulous. What do you mean? Lucas gave him an indifferent look. Alice has lost her memory. Now she only regards me as her husband and thinks that we've been in love for 6 years. Ethan, she has completely forgotten you. Ethan refused to believe it no matter what was said. He just thought that I was deliberately playing tricks on him. How could there be memory loss? Does Alice think she's acting in an idle drama? Fine. Since she wants to play with me, then I'll play along with her. After saying that, he left in a huff with Diana, and in those days, he posted 9 updates showing off their love in his WeChat moments. I knew he did it on purpose to show it to me. If it had been in the past, I might have been so angry that my heart ached. But now, I didn't feel the slightest bit affected. I was curled up on the sofa reading a book when my phone rang again. It was a message from Ethan. Since the day of the wedding, there had been hundreds of unread messages from Ethan. Some were messages of admitting mistakes, begging me to go back, and asking for my forgiveness. I didn't even look at them and deleted them all with one click. At the top of his hundreds of messages was the one I sent half a month ago, Ethan, let's break up. It had never received a reply. Now, it didn't matter to me anymore. After watching a movie at home, I suddenly remembered that I hadn't taken the keepsake left by my mother and it was still at Ethan's place. Thinking that Ethan should be at the company at this time, I took a taxi and wanted to take the chance to get it back secretly. Unexpectedly, just after I entered the password and the door opened, I was met with a pair of eyes that seemed to say, I knew it. Ethan sneered. Alice, I knew you'd come back. He was standing at the door wearing a bathrobe and was about to hug me from behind. "You love me so much. How could you possibly fall in love with Lucas, your sworn enemy? All right, our Cold War is over. Let's make up." I quietly avoided his touch and keenly heard the sound of running water coming from the bathroom. Then Diana's voice came from inside. "Honey, help me get the bath towel. Hurry up." A hint of embarrassment flashed across Ethan's face. He quickly explained to me, "Alice, don't misunderstand. Diana's water heater at home broke down today, so she came here to take a shower." My eyes fell on the sexy lingerie scattered on the sofa, and I just smiled without saying a word. I walked straight into the room, found the amulet left by my mother, put it in my pocket, and turned to leave. However, Ethan blocked my way. "Alice, I've already bowed my head and apologized to you. If you don't take this chance to make up, don't blame me for being ruthless to you." I sneered, "Do as you like. We broke up a long time ago. Besides, I don't remember who you are." Ethan was just about to speak. Suddenly, the bathroom door opened and Diana walked out naked. "Honey, you're so bad. You deliberately didn't let me get dressed." But when she opened her eyes, seeing Ethan and I standing in the living room, she immediately screamed in fright. "Ethan, why is Alice here?" Ethan's face changed drastically. He hurriedly took a towel and put it around her. "Alice, wait for me outside first. I'll explain to you later." What was there to explain? Was he going to explain that they had already been shamelessly intimate with each other in the name of friends? I shook my head helplessly. By the time he remembered, he found that I had already disappeared. On that same day, I submitted my resignation letter to the Ethan Group and never went to work there again. Instead, I changed jobs and joined Lucas's company. The two famous sworn enemies in the business world had unexpectedly become colleagues and even a married couple. For a while, it became a joke among people. Only Ethan was driven mad. "It's all rumors. What married couple? This is just a play deliberately put on by that bitch Alice to make me jealous. It's just to make me jealous on purpose." A colleague sneered and said, "President Ethan, was it also a play deliberately put on by Alice to make you jealous when she resigned?" Ethan nodded without hesitation. "Of course, Alice has always been a workaholic. She would even sacrifice her life and always put work first. Otherwise, how would you explain her resignation? Of course, it was for me." The other colleagues shook their heads when they heard this. They just saw through it but didn't expose it. When colleagues who were on good terms with me told me about this, I just smiled it off. She would even sacrifice her life and always put work first. It was 2 years ago when the Ethan Group encountered a serious crisis. I worked around the clock without sleep to negotiate with clients for investment. Even when I had an acute appendicitis attack at night, I didn't go to the hospital and kept on working. Until finally I passed out. In the hospital, Ethan was so moved that his eyes were red from crying. He hugged me, feeling extremely distressed. "Good Alice, I know you've always been so hardworking, but you should also take care of your body." He had contemptuously trampled on the love I once had for him. Now, that kind of love and the old me are gone forever. After getting married, Lucas and I lived a very happy life. Since our marriage, he has been coming home early from work every day to accompany me. Even when he's extremely busy, he still insists on cooking for me himself. But there was always something on my mind, and I was hesitating whether to tell him or not. Watching Lucas busy in the kitchen cooking a big meal for me, I hesitated to speak and then said, "Husband." I wanted to tell him the truth. Actually, I didn't lose my memory at all. It was just a scene that I asked the doctor to help me with and act out together. At that time, I just wanted to get rid of Ethan, that fickle and lousy man, once and for all in this way and end everything decently. When Lucas found out that I had lost my memory, he took the opportunity to confess his love to me and even took me to get the marriage certificate. At first, I just wanted to play a trick on this sworn enemy in this way. But it turned out that he was deeply in love with me. To such an extent that I couldn't bear to bully him anymore, for fear of being punished by heaven. After a few months, even I seemed to have fallen in love with him. Whenever I encountered something interesting every day, I would think of sharing it with Lucas at the first moment. Every time night fell, I would look forward to Lucas coming back early. When I was in a low mood, as long as he gave me kisses and hugs, I would feel much better. But after all, the truth will come out sooner or later. I still wanted to tell him in person. After Lucas brought out the last dish, my voice slowly rang out. Actually, I lied to you, Lucas. I didn't lose my memory at all. Lucas's movements paused for a moment. He washed his hands and then hugged me from behind, saying with a smile, "My wife is talking nonsense again. Let me check if you have a fever." He didn't believe it. I stared into his eyes. "I'm serious, Lucas. The memory loss was just pretended by me. It was just an excuse for me to break up with Ethan." Lucas was silent for a long time and then still hugged me with a smile. "I know. Alice, actually, I've known it all along." This time it was my turn to be stunned. It turned out that Lucas had also been acting with me all the time. "When did you know about it?" Lucas smiled and gently scraped my nose. "Silly girl, do you think your acting skills are really good? When we were chatting, you talked nonstop and had already mentioned the past things unconsciously. Then why didn't you expose me?" Instantly, my face blushed. But Lucas looked at me seriously. "Because I've been in love with you for a long time. It's just that you already had a boyfriend at that time, and I couldn't get too close to you. So I kept opposing you everywhere as a reminder to myself not to cross the line. But Alice, when you love someone, you can't help yourself. As long as you are around, my eyes have never looked anywhere else. I love you, so no matter what you want to do, I'm willing to accompany you." I was deeply touched by him. I had never thought that Lucas had hidden his feelings so deeply. We had known each other since college. At first, he was very nice to me, but until the first time I showed up with Ethan in front of him. After that, he began to be cold towards me. From school to society, he targeted me everywhere and competed with me. It turned out that there was such careful and restrained love hidden behind all this. I hugged Lucas. "Sorry, husband. I didn't understand you. And I even secretly competed with you for a long time just to steal your clients." With this misunderstanding cleared up, my relationship with Lucas became even closer. A few days later, after just taking a few bites of the meal, I felt nauseous and vomited. Lucas was so worried that he drove me to the hospital. After several examinations of my stomach and intestines, there was no problem found. The doctor shook his head with a helpless smile. "Why don't you go to the obstetrics and gynecology department?" Lucas and I were both stunned at the same time. "Obstetrics and gynecology department?" The doctor laughed even louder. "You young people don't understand. There's an 80% chance that you're pregnant." When I got the pregnancy test report, I was in a daze. It turned out that I was really pregnant. "Husband, this isn't right. We've always been taking precautions. How could I be pregnant?" Lucas thought for a while and blushed. He quietly leaned close to my ear and said, "Don't you remember? Last month, you drank too much and insisted on sitting on me while I was asleep. I guess that's when it happened. I wished I could find a crack in the ground to crawl into." Lucas hugged me affectionately. "Alice, why are you here?" Suddenly, a voice rang out. I looked up and met Ethan's angry eyes. He stared at me fixedly. "Alice, have you no shame? Hugging and cuddling with another man in public and cuckolding me. And this is the obstetrics and gynecology department. What are you doing here?" His voice was so loud that the doctors, nurses, and patients' families in the hospital corridor all looked over here one after another. They pointed at us and whispered among themselves. I looked at Diana behind him with a cold smile. "Yeah, this is the obstetrics and gynecology department. What are you doing here?" A hint of embarrassment flashed across Lucas's face and he hurriedly explained, "Diana isn't feeling well. I brought her here for an examination. We just passed by the obstetrics and gynecology department. We'll leave now." However, Diana impatiently pushed him away. "Husband, we're already married. Why do you still care about her feelings?" "To tell you the truth, I'm pregnant. It's Ethan's child." Diana had a smug look on her face. She thought that by saying such words it would make me sad and jealous, so she was secretly enjoying herself. But she didn't know that I was looking at them as if they were a joke. "Oh, it seems that my congratulations have come true. Wish you a house full of children." However, Ethan pushed her away with a cold face. "That's enough." He softened his tone and came forward to coax me. "Alice, we've had enough of this quarrel. Come back to me. I know you love me so much and have always been jealous of me. As long as you promise to come back to me, I can send Diana abroad and she'll never bother us again." I took a step back with a cold smile. It seemed that I was disgusted by his touch and deliberately avoided it. "Mr. Ethan, please behave yourself. I've said that I already have a husband. My husband is Lucas, and he's 1,000 times, 10,000 times better than you. Moreover, we already have a child, so don't bother yourself about it." Diana stared at me viciously. She couldn't believe that after all her efforts for so long, Ethan still wanted to beg me to come back. She deliberately came over to pull me, and I impatiently shook her off. The force was clearly very light. But she deliberately fell backward. "Ethan, help me." Alice pushed me on purpose. "Can't you see it? She's just acting. She even said she lost her memory. Look at her. Where does she look like she has lost her memory? Obviously, she's been lying to you all the time." Seeing Diana fall, Ethan, as expected, went forward to help her with a distressed look on his face. "Why did you provoke Alice?" "All right, I'll help you go for an examination." "Alice, stop pretending. Can this game end here?" More and more people gathered in the corridor to watch the fun. They even started talking and speculating among themselves. I didn't want to get involved in their messy affairs anymore, so I simply made everything clear at once. I shook the pregnancy test report in my hand. "Ethan, look clearly. No one is acting with you. I broke up with you months ago. You also saw with your own eyes that I married Lucas. Now, we even have a child." Ethan's whole body stiffened and his face turned deathly pale. "What are you talking about? Alice, you're joking, right? How could you two?" I interrupted him with a cold smile. "Nothing is impossible. Anyway, you and Diana are such a perfect match. Just stay together forever. Don't go out and harm others in the future. Wish we'll never meet again. Farewell." After saying that, I took Lucas's hand and turned around to leave. Since we completely broke off, it really felt much better. However, I never expected that a few days later, I accidentally came across an article online that exposed Diana as a mistress. You don't know how disgusting this woman is. She claimed to be President Ethan's first love and childhood sweetheart, but clearly she's a shameless mistress who meddled in other people's relationships. Ah, look at her. She looks decent, but she's actually such a bitch. I also work in this company. President Ethan and his girlfriend had a great relationship and had been together for 6 years. It was because of her deliberate sabotage that they were forced to break up. Diana? I know her too. Is she that green tea bitch who pretended to have depression? I was just about to scroll down when suddenly Ethan called. He lashed out at me. "Alice, I never thought you could be so vicious. Even now, you still won't let Diana go and even spread such vicious rumors to hurt her? I demand that you immediately go online today to clarify that Diana is not a mistress and that it was you who hired internet trolls to frame her on purpose. Otherwise, you'll regret it." It was really baffling. What did I care if his first love was slandered? It wasn't me who did it. I had already blocked Ethan's number long ago, and this time he actually called from a colleague's phone. After this incident, I simply set up an interception for all unknown calls. However, I never expected that. Ethan actually made up his mind to ruin my career. When I woke up one morning, the internet was flooded with comments scolding me. They said that I was a promiscuous woman who cheated on her partner. When I was in a relationship with the president of the Ethan group, I had affairs with other men behind his back and cuckolded him. Some people even posted my prenatal examination information from the hospital. Look, this is the pregnancy information of that green tea bitch. What a slut. president of the Ethan group, treated her so well and loved her wholeheartedly. She actually played with men's feelings by two-timing. Does she even have a heart? I was almost laughed out of anger by these rumors. Anyway, the truth will come out eventually. I didn't plan to pay attention to them. However, I never expected that this matter had become so serious that it affected my work and life. Even when I walked on the street, people would dig into my personal information and mock me with sarcastic remarks. Those clients who I had been negotiating cooperation with before also changed their attitudes one after another and looked at me with contempt. We won't cooperate with someone with a chaotic private life. When the cooperation that had been agreed upon was cancelled and I was confused, Ethan blocked me downstairs in the office building. "Alice, how do you like this gift?" He sneered with sarcasm on his face. My mind went blank for a moment, and then I realized what was going on and my face darkened. "Did you do all of this?" Ethan smiled and stroked my hair, his eyes falling on my angry face, and he laughed even more. "Yes, it was me who obtained your prenatal examination information from the hospital and published it all online. And it was also me who hired internet trolls to say that you cheated on me with Lucas when you were in a relationship with me. How does it feel to be criticized by so many people? How does it feel to have your reputation ruined?" If I had a knife in my hand, I would have wanted to stab him to death. But I didn't. I couldn't do that either. I just gritted my teeth and stared at him. "You're shameless." The smile on Ethan's face grew even wider. He laughed like a sly fox. His eyes fell on my slightly bulging belly. "Alice, no one knows you better than I do. You're a workaholic. In your eyes, nothing is more important than your career. As long as you abort this child and come back to me obediently, I will help you clarify the rumors and give you a chance to come back to work at the Ethan Group. You should know that I made you who you are, and I can also destroy you." Now looking at his face like this, I just felt disgusted no matter how I looked at it. I even doubted whether I had been blind before. How could I have fallen for such a person? "Ethan, you're wrong. You don't understand me at all." After saying this with a smile, I turned around and left. He really didn't understand me. He didn't know how I had overcome countless difficulties along the way. Nor did he know that I had never known how to write the word surrender. Since he wanted to push me to a dead end, then don't blame me for being merciless. I posted all the evidence of their cheating that I had kept before, including recordings, videos, and chat records, all on the internet. Among them were the words with which Diana threatened me. "Alice, do you think it's so great to be Ethan's girlfriend? I'm his unforgettable first love. As soon as I came back, didn't he immediately climb into my bed? They had been together for 6 years, but still lost to me, didn't they? I just wanted a wedding, and he gave it to me as soon as I asked. And you, when you wanted to go home with him to meet his parents, he didn't agree, did he? And no matter how much you said, did he believe you at all? I just lied that I had depression, and he obediently listened like a dog. I didn't miss a single screenshot of these chat records and had them all spread online. Didn't Ethan wrongly accuse me of hiring internet trolls? Since he had already framed me, it would be a pity if I didn't hire them. I hired 3,000 internet trolls at once and had them flood the internet with these messages to confirm that Diana was the mistress who had sabotaged other people's relationships. In less than 2 hours, the article became a trending search in the same city. And those ambiguous videos of Ethan and Diana sleeping together were also crazily reposted. Suddenly, the public opinion on the internet reversed. Oh my God! I didn't expect such a plot twist. It turned out that the scumbag and the bitch framed Alice, and that's why Alice dumped the scumbag. I support Alice in this case. A cheating jerk doesn't deserve to be forgiven. I even started to ship Alice and Lucas. What should I do? Although they're not celebrities, they're so good looking. Compensation. They maliciously spread rumors and slandered Alice. They must compensate, and I support criminal punishment. I scrolled for half an hour, but I still hadn't finished reading all these comments. For a moment, I couldn't figure out whether the power of 3,000 internet trolls was really that powerful. I didn't even post my wedding photos with Lucas. How did they dig them out? Just then, Lucas pushed the door open and came back. He hugged me tiredly. Alice, I'm sorry you've been wronged. But it's all over now. Only then did I know. Lucas had been busy all day long, helping me fight against the public opinion and explaining everything clearly. Even if I hadn't taken the initiative, he would have found his own way to clear my name. After all this commotion, Ethan's reputation was completely ruined. Those clients who had broken their appointments with me before, after learning the whole story, not only came back to invest again but also doubled the investment amount. Miss Alice, I was wrong to believe those villains and shouldn't have listened to those false accusations. I knew that, Miss Alice, you're so capable at work and have such a good character. You definitely wouldn't be like Ethan with a chaotic private life. Lucas's company quickly rose to the top of the local enterprises in just a few days. This is a company that I have been running by myself after getting married. Lucas has given me full responsibility for it. The share price of Ethan's company plummeted overnight. All the previous clients terminated their contracts one after another, and then I managed to win them over. Afraid that his company would face bankruptcy, Ethan finally panicked and put aside his pride to beg me, Alice, for the sake of our past relationship, stop what you're doing. Tell those people to stop spreading rumors and help me quickly. I smiled casually. But that's not what you said when you tried to ruin me last time, Mr. Ethan. His face turned deathly pale, knowing that I would never turn back. The Ethan Group was built up by me from scratch. How could I possibly let someone like Ethan continue to enjoy the fruits of my hard work? I watched as the Ethan Group faced losses and bankruptcy, and then at the most appropriate time, I acquired it at a low price. During the 5 years we were together, Ethan only cared about the superficial glory and lived a life of luxury and waste, without realizing how hard it was to make money. He didn't have the skills to negotiate with clients. Even if he swallowed his pride and knelt down before clients, he couldn't earn their respect at all. On the day when he was completely bankrupt, Diana didn't pretend to have depression anymore. They had a huge fight. Diana aborted the child and left him, going abroad alone. Ethan, in a fit of rage, didn't see the road clearly when he ran after her and was hit by a car running across the road, breaking one of his legs. After that, he still wanted to beg me to visit him in the hospital. I lazily deleted the junk messages. I hugged my husband Lucas and asked, "What are you going to cook for your wife and baby tonight?" Lucas smiled and kissed me on the cheek. "What does the baby want to eat?" I said with a smile, "The baby wants to eat braised prawns and oil." Later, I successfully gave birth to a pair of twins, a boy and a girl, and lived a happy life with a family of 4. 2 years later, when I met Ethan again, he was in ragged clothes, dragging his disabled leg and begging on the street, but I couldn't recognize him anymore.